Hey guys, Sledgehammer70 back, and it is that time to take a drive. So let's do it. Here we go. So today I wanted to talk about something that is a little bit more in depth than just a little topic or stuff like that. It's really my passion for American muscle. Now, for years now, I have loved American muscle cars, and it hasn't always been Camaros. My love for Camaros goes back all the way since I was a kid, but it wasn't only Camaros. You know, I loved Novas, I loved Chevelles, I loved Mustangs, I loved Challengers and Chargers. Like, there were so many different cars. Corvettes, specifically like the split windows, like the old 63s, like obviously the most rare, hard to find ones, like come to find out in my older age. But like American muscle is what made me love cars. You know, going to car shows with my dad every now and then. I didn't go to nearly as many as, you know, I would have loved to, but the ones that we did go to, you know, hearing those old 69s fire up, and you know, and it's kind of funny because the things that I truly loved about American muscle, in the actual real cars, it wasn't as pronounced stock. Like, I didn't know this. Like, I would hear a Mustang go by, and little did I know that that Mustang was all cammed out and just sounded burly and amazing. You heard that low, that deep bass rumble. Like, it just made me fall in love with those cars. Now, as I grew up and started going out and checking out these cars, I was like, none of these cars sound like the ones that I heard at car shows. Like, why is that? And that's when it dawned on me that people modify their cars. Like, I was like, holy crap. I think I was like 12. You know, my dad was a car guy, but never really a big car guy. He was always working, and when he was home, he was spending time with my two older sisters, my mom and me. Like, there's just always so much going on, and he always had nice cars. Like, he had a Mustang Cobra convertible. He got a Dodge Dakota that he like souped the hell up. I mean, all sorts of different vehicles that he had, but none of which was like, I never really kind of put two and two together when I was younger. And I mean, I'll be the first to admit, like, I didn't know the full capabilities of what you could do with cars. Like, I was a tech geek. I got into all like computer stuff, like total different avenue, but in the long run, it kind of did the same exact thing that I now do with cars. Like, you overclock a processor, you overclock a motor, technically. You know, in a processor, it's all about removing the heat, and in a car, it's all about shoving more air into for better combustion and just making more power. But it all comes down to the same thing, just that itch to want to just make whatever your stock vehicle has do more. And that was really when my car enthusiast side grabbed onto me. Now, I was never in a position where I had abundance of money, you know, where I could go down and go get dual turbochargers or supercharge a motor and all that kind of stuff. Like, I never got into that. I always wanted to, just never did. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, in a way, and mainly because I love naturally aspired motors. Like, there is nothing better sounding than just a big displacement, naturally aspired motor that just, with a cam, and oh man, just that like that deep rumble. It gives me chills just thinking and talking about it. Like, that's what made me fall in love with cars. Like, getting that bass, and then when you take off, like feeling it in your chest. I loved it, and I still love it to this day. Like, and it's crazy because I went out and I bought this car, the 2016 Camaro. I love it, don't get me wrong, but modern day cars, they just don't have what the old schools did. Now, yes, you can cam them and you can do all sorts of stuff and make them do that, which is awesome. But then you have that other thing called a warranty, which basically goes out the window if you do anything like that to these motors. Now, the reason why I love the old school cars and would love to like get like I've said this before, but I'd love to get like a 1969 SS or even like a Z28 and just do all sorts of great things to it, you know, like cam it, rebuild the motor, like just really go to town on it. And the cool part about those motors is they're so easy to work on. Now, I've never worked on a Camaro motor, but I have definitely worked on Mustang motors, and I've worked on a couple other like Dodge truck motors and stuff like that with my dad growing up. But you know, seeing how some of these, like my buddy who lived next door to me many years ago, he had an old I forget the model year that he had, but he had an old Jeep. Basically, it was like I want to say it was a early 60s, like just a beast of a Jeep, and like you could just step into the engine compartment and work on that thing, and it was awesome. And we pulled apart that motor so many times and built it up, and I mean that Jeep sounded amazing, but he was building it for off-road, and all the things that he was doing it for were, you know, the same exact, like it was my learning experience, you know, like I didn't take shop in high school, I didn't do all that junk, like I just dive into things and do it. And I've broken many things. I've had to spend lots of money because I've screwed stuff up or didn't realize you were supposed to replace a gasket and reused one, and then it had a leak, and yeah, no, it was just bad. So, but going back to, again, my love for American Muscle, like I think it's pretty clear. Like I love the sounds of the cars, the way they run, the way they make you feel when you take off. Like import cars have not been able to do that for me. Like I've been in Acura NSXs, I've been in a GTR, I've been in Ferraris, I've been in Lamborghinis, I've been in a McLaren. I mean, I've been lucky enough to know people that drive these cars and had a chance to not drive them per se, but ride in them. And they take off, and some of those supercars, they're freaking amazing. Like they are so out of reach for whatever I would ever be able to afford. But you know, getting to the lower ones like a 350Z or a 370, or getting into the little older, like maybe even a Nissan, like a 240Z, or God, whatever, my mind's going blank, but I see all these guys with their Subarus and their BRZs and, you know, sorry, their WRXs and BRZs and M3s and M4s and M5s, and like just seeing the stuff that these guys do to these super expensive cars. Like there's no way I can afford an M4 brand new off the lot and then go invest $20,000 to build up the motor. Like it's just crazy. Like I have no idea where people get their money to do these things. But the one thing I've always loved about American Muscle is most of the stuff we do to these cars, it's not nearly as expensive. Like you don't need a dual turbocharge. You can forge the pistons and rotors. You can get new heads. Friggin', I wouldn't do NOS, but people could do that. But I mean, there's so much stuff you could do to these motors. Cam them to increase the horsepower, increase the torque, and make them drive super nice and sound amazing. And that's really like, I almost want to say like maybe that makes me sound super cheap, and I don't care, because you know what, I am like, I don't make a lot of money. I have a big family. I have 4 kids and a beautiful bride and 2 dogs and a scorpion. Throw that out there. But I've chosen to pour my money into building a family over a car, but I'm still trying to do the car thing on the side, right? And so I have to pick and choose how I'm gonna modify my car to obtain what I ultimately want it to do. And that ranges from a better exhaust sound to better performance overall. You know, I'm saving my pennies to get a full header and exhaust line out the back. You know, as much as I loved the MPB exhaust or the dual mode exhaust I purchased from GM, I just don't think it's gonna deliver on the ultimate sound that I want. And the other side of it is I'm looking forward to putting a lot of miles on the car, because I'm also now saving to cam the car and do all that kind of cool stuff, because I've now heard a couple of Corvettes that are cammed, and I'm just like, man, I want that. So that being said, going straight back, American Muscle it's had my heart since the beginning. You know, I've been lucky enough to be around a lot of really nice older cars. You know, even when I was in a band, my buddy's dad had a 65 El Camino that they built out, and that thing was amazing. But just little things like that, just seeing cool projects like that constantly over and over again, it doesn't even matter. Like I'm obviously biased towards Camaro now, but that doesn't mean I hate Mustangs and hate Chargers and Challengers and all those different vehicles. Like, I love them. I think they all look good. I think the new GT350 is the best looking new Mustang available on the market. Love the way the thing sounds. I mean, the thing that it kind of bothers me a little bit that they went with, the motor type that they went with was the Voodoo, but the car's a beast. You can't deny it. It's a great car. But on the flip side, you know, you got the Hellcats out there. Those cars are just a shit ton of horsepower under the hood, and they go in a straight line for the most part really well. But when it comes to even looking at what's coming for the ZL1 and the upcoming potentially Z28 that GM hasn't revealed, or even just the 1LE, which is a better track capable Camaro, like, there's nothing to not be excited about. And it drives me bananas that so many car guys out there just are like, I get it, you're passionate and you love the brand or the nameplate that is on your vehicle, but there's no reason to just hate on someone else's choice. Like, and I understand it completely. I get it. You know, there's guys out there that are always going to do it. It's always going to happen. But I mean, without GM building the Camaro, without Dodge pushing the Challenger and Charger forward, we wouldn't have the freaking awesome cars that we have today. Who knows what Camaro brand would have been if they didn't reinvent themselves after the 4th gen. I'll tell you what, I'm super happy GM was able to go back to the drawing board and come out with the 5th gen and now the 6th gen, because I mean, these cars are amazing. They're awesome. And there's a lot of you guys that are so passionate about even the 5th gen Camaros that you just can't even stand the thought of the 6th gen, and it drives me bananas. Like, why do you feel that way? Like, they're not trouncing your car. You couldn't expect them to keep the 5th gen design for 1,000 years. I mean, it's just crazy, you know. And I think GM and Ford and Dodge are all pouring a ton of money into building us some amazing cars that we get to play with. Some of them obviously out of my price range, but I can't wait to see them on the road. I can't wait to see them in person, whether it's in a dealership or maybe one of you guys have the money and are going to go out and buy some of these super cars of muscle / now sports cars, because I'm dying to see them and dying to be able to ride in them, and, you know, God willing, let me drive one or two of them. But yeah, American Muscle, it's great. You know, we live in a time that's kind of scary in the United States. You know, lots of EPA and fuel management guidelines, and it's into the world, and burning fossil fuels, and it's the age of the electric car. And I'm honestly shocked. It's 2016 and we still have big old V8 cars, and I'm blessed. I don't think my kids will be able to grow up and raise their kids to have such vehicles. I mean, our cars will be relics most likely by that time. But, you know, I could pray that, you know, something changes, or they figure out a new way with combustion engines to keep these kind of cars around forever. And hopefully we don't get outlawed from driving these cars. But yeah, American Muscle. Let me know what you guys think. I know a lot of you guys out there drive different cars. Some of you guys are Camaro owners. I know some of you guys have Mustangs, Challengers, Chargers. Let me know what you guys think. What is it about American Muscle cars that you love? What is it that got you hooked on these type of cars? Again, for me, it was young age, going to car shows with my dad and hearing some of these cars. But, you know, let me know in the comments below. But as always, guys, I appreciate you joining me on these weekly drives. This vlog is going a little long, so I apologize if you stuck through and watched the whole thing to this point. You are a true fan of the channel. And I can't wait to come up with next week's topic. And yeah, so until next time, guys, I will see you on the road.